Michael Yagubian, also known as Goob by his friends, or the bowler hat guy. One bad experience resulted in a young boy becoming his own worst enemy and eventually ruined his future and the future of the entire world. Hello, Jeremy Senpai here, and today we'll be talking about Meet the Robinsons, or specifically, we're talking about the villain of this story, Goob, or the bowler hat guy. Meet the Robinsons is one of the most underrated Disney movies, coming from the experimental era of their films throughout the 2000s. The key theme here is how our actions affect the future for good or bad, especially how they act when faced with hardships. And let's just say that Goob took this to an extreme level. When we're first introduced to Goob, he's a 12-year-old Little League player and the roommate to young inventor Lewis. One common theme was Lewis keeping Goob up all night with his experiments, resulting in Goob having poor sleep and is often seen with bags under his eyes. Both boys live at an orphanage where they both are awaiting to get adopted, with Lewis failing every interview he gets. So Lewis develops a memory scanner in hopes of winning his school science fair and reuniting with his birth mother. However, due to Lewis staying up all night, Goob was so exhausted during a big game that he missed catching the winning ball, resulting in his team losing, and they all blamed him for it. Lewis, on the other hand, won the science fair and got adopted all on the same day, while Goob would stew on losing the game to the point that he ends up failing all his adoption interviews. And then I'm guessing over the next 6 years, the orphanage closes down, but Goob still lives in his old room, most likely squatting. Now, the reason I'm assuming this timeline is because Lewis and Goob are both established to be 12 years old during the movie, and as far as we've seen, they are the only two kids in the house. So it's a safe assumption that the orphanage was going under anyway once both boys were adopted, but it ended up shutting down before Goob was adopted or turned legal. And during this time, Goob spent 30 years of his life just fuming over the loss that he indirectly was responsible for, all the while listening to the success that Lewis, now Cornelius Robinson, made as a world class inventor. Then Goob comes to the conclusion that it wasn't his fault, but Lewis's instead. So Goob begins his plan to destroy Lewis's life through mild vandalism. That is, until he meets Doris, an AI bowler hat created by Lewis, until she became self aware and attempted to take over. The two work together to cook up a plan to steal the time machine, steal the memory scanner, and ruin Luce's future. They succeed until it's revealed that Doris betrays Goob in the future and takes over the world until Lewis goes back in time to undo Doris's creation and show Goob the future. Goob goes off on his own, not knowing what to do next with his life. But with Lewis going back to the present, he changes Goob's future by waking him up just in time to catch the ball, winning the game, and getting adopted all at once. That's the main story, but now we're going to talk about Goob as a character. At his core, Goob really is a boy who never grew up. He allowed one bad day to ruin his entire life. Yes, he nodded off and missed a pretty easy catch, but This was a Little League game. They're not playing for the pennant here. And yes, it was a pretty crappy thing for Goob's teammates to blame him, but chances are they all grew up and most, if not all of them, probably don't even remember the game anymore. And with their adult minds, they might even feel that they overreacted and might feel bad for their actions. There's an old saying that the axe forgets what the tree will always remember. Goob allowed these feelings to stew and fester like an open cut, getting worse. Goob believed that everyone hated him. He didn't even hear when two of his classmates tried talking to him. That's because his hate blinded him to the point he couldn't see anything else. So, it's a safe assumption that by this point in time, the losing game is already forgotten about, and Goob is the only one who even remembers it. As I stated earlier, Goob is a boy who never grew up because he's never moved forward, at least not in a positive way. His master plan for revenge was to vandalize the Robinson office building with eggs and toilet paper. He still has the mind and emotions of a 12-year-old because he is still a 12-year-old in an adult body and he's handling it how an immature 12-year-old kid would do so, perfectly happy to blame Lewis and ignore how his own choices led to this part of his life. It's played for laughs throughout the movie that Goob doesn't think or plan things out, but no, that's basically because he's acting on impulses. Basically, he's a dog chasing cars. His main goal is to ruin Lewis's life and get his revenge. This is proven when he mind controls a frog and a dinosaur to try and steal Lewis away. He was given a solution and acted on it without thinking things through, and that just made things worse. As far as we know, Goob isn't working and probably didn't even finish school, so his problem solving skills are lacking horribly. This was shown multiple times throughout the film, especially with the running gag of, "I'm just not so sure how this plan was thought out." Goob even says it himself when he's pitching the memory scanner as his own invention, that he doesn't know what comes next after he gets his revenge. If it wasn't for Doris, Goob wouldn't be a threat to anyone at all, which is why Goob was so easily manipulated by Doris. Goob simply wanted his revenge over Lewis. Doris was the one who wanted to enslave the world, and after it was revealed Doris was using him, Goob had officially lost everything, including his purpose. After being persuaded by Lewis, Wilbur invited Goob to be a Robinson, only for Goob to disappear before giving his answer, leaving behind his binder containing his to-do list that marks he doesn't know what comes next. The last we see of future Goob is him standing far away from Lewis and Wilbur, and the look in his eyes says it all. He doesn't know what comes next. This is him realizing that he wasted 30 years of his life, and now he has nothing, nothing but his future that he has to figure out for himself. But on a positive note, Lewis helps his Goob out, where he wins the game and is about to be adopted. Now Goob's story is definitely a relatable one. Life is long. Bad things happen. Sometimes intentional, Sometimes it was just bad luck. But either way, you can always let one bad experience ruin your life. Okay, my roommate kept me up all night. I was too tired to catch the ball. We lost a big game, and my teammates blamed me for it. That sucks. So, yeah, be angry about it for a little while. Take a few days or even a few weeks to process your feelings, but eventually, you have to do the hardest thing and move forward. So, the same could be said about anything else in life in general. A bad breakup, death of a loved one, losing a job, or anything else that's life changing and devastating. But for your own sake, get past it. Just like how Goob's game didn't matter 30 years later, whatever happened to you isn't worth destroying your future. So keep moving forward for your own sake. This has been Jeremy Senpai. If you like what you hear, hit like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, and please, have yourself a good day.